Hey there and welcome back. Over the last couple months, we've been looking at the 7 wonders of the ancient world. And then we took a couple weeks and we substituted the wonders that were a little more than wanting. So where do we go from there? Well, the way I figure it is, we just turn the globe and look at the other side of the world. We're going to be selecting 7 places from the New World to create as wonders. There's already a list of 7 wonders, but they focus on the whole world, and a couple of them aren't that old. We will be borrowing 1 or 2 wonders from this list, but we're going to have to take and create the other 5 ourselves. To start off our tour of the New World wonders, we're going to start off in the ancient Mayan city of Chichen Itza. Chichen Itza is located in the Yucatan, a state of Mexico. Now I know what you're thinking. All the wonders from the ancient world had to be one single object. Well, this is my list, so it's my rules. Chichen Itza covers an area of 10 square kilometers, and at its height is thought to have had a max population of around 35,000 people. The city was a place of worship, military power, political, and even a commercial center. The Mayan people didn't come around until 2600 BCE, but it wasn't until 250 CE that they really started to take off and become a civilization. They followed the Olmec civilization, and built on top of much of what the Olmec had already developed. So when the Olmec civilization collapsed, they were well suited to fill that void. Some of the things the Mayans developed themselves were their own calendar system, you know, the thing that was supposed to end the world in 2012 and gave us this masterpiece. But they also built on top of the hieroglyphics that the Olmec had already created. Alongside all this, they were really adept at farming as well. To do this farming, they would clear large areas of the rainforest and swamps. And where water wasn't easily accessible, they would create large underground reservoirs to take and collect the rainwater. The Mayan civilization social structure started to take place sometime around 300 BCE, when they implemented a government of hierarchy. They divided themselves into 4 groups, the first being the noble class. The jobs under the title of noble were varied, from your typical jobs of ruler and government official, to jobs like cocoa plantation manager, and even trade expedition leaders. These jobs would have been passed down through their lineage. The next class is the common people, and this one was much less varied than the noble class. It only comprised of 3 groups: the farmers, laborers, and servants. The Mayan social structure did allow for people to move between the classes through military service. And it's also believed that some people were able to become quite wealthy through their arts or being merchants. But even though they can move upwards, they were still unable to wear any of the clothing or any of the symbols that were associated with nobility. And as if being told you couldn't wear the clothing of your new class wasn't bad enough, any objects that were considered exotic, they weren't allowed to purchase or even use those objects with their new class. The third class are the serfs and the slaves, and there were many different ways a person could be forced into slavery. If you committed certain crimes, if you were a prisoner of war that wasn't sacrificed, all of those things and more would lead to slavery. Why did I just break down the class systems for you? Was it to fill time in the script? Yeah, in part it was. Chichen Itza was like every other Mayan city. Only certain people were allowed to live in certain areas. The noble class were allowed to live in the center of the city. Everybody else had to live on the edges to work the land. Chichen Itza was founded during the Mayan classical period, possibly between 415 to 435 CE, or even around 455 CE. The city was most likely constructed in the area because it had a natural water source. The surrounding area is full of sinkholes that formed in the limestone that collects the water, thus being the only source of water that's found in the area. The city's name, Chichen Itza, actually comes from these sinkholes. Chi meaning mouth, Chin meaning wells, and Itza being the Mayan tribe that settled the area and called it home. The earliest structures at Chichen Itza were constructed in a style called Puuc. Some of these structures were built in what is now called the main plaza. The earliest structures are called the House of Dark Writing, the Red House, the Church, the Nunnery, and last but not least, the Snail. The city would continue to thrive and grow until sometime around the 10th century CE. They were invaded and change happened, but it's not certain if this invasion came from other Maya-speaking people or if it was possibly the Toltec. The Toltec came from central Mexico and were prominent during the 10th to 12th century CE. They were known for sacking other towns around them, and around 900 CE, they actually sacked Teotihuacan. Another theory for the city's destabilization and invasion actually comes from the idea that the Itza people were the ones that invaded the city. Others argue that the Itza didn't come around until 200 to 300 years after the city was invaded. It's thought whoever invaded the city are the ones that are responsible for creating the buildings that Chichen Itza is known for today. The most famous structure being that of El Castillo, the castle. It was built in the main plaza and stands at a height of 24 meters. There's 91 stairs on each side, each facing a cardinal direction. At the very top of this stepped pyramid, there's actually a platform with one more step. The castle was actually constructed in such a way that twice a year during the spring and the autumn equinoxes, a shadow is cast by the setting sun, and it looks like a snake slithering down the stairs. There's even a carving of Quetzalcoatl, or known as in Mayan, Cuculcán, at the top of the pyramid. If you don't know much about Mesoamerica, and the only movie you ever seen relating to it was The Road to El Dorado, then you've seen the ball game they played. The Mayans called this game Poc-to-Poc, and the ball court in Chichen Itza is the largest that we have found in the Americas thus far. The playing area was 160 166 meters in length and 68 meters in width. Along the walls, there were 6 sculpted reliefs. The reliefs are thought to be depictions of the victors of the game, each holding the severed head of the losing team member. At one end of the court, there's a temple sitting on a platform called the Temple of Jaguars. The inside of the temple is decorated with murals of warriors laying siege to another village. At the north end of court, there's another platform, and if one stands on this platform, you can hear somebody whispering as far as 46 meters away. Most of the structures at Chichén Itzá are thought to have been constructed during their early post-classic period, between 900 to 1200 CE. But during their late post-classic period, between 1200 to 1540 CE, Mayapan became the most powerful and important cities in Mesoamerica. Chichén Itzá joined up with Uxmal and the Mayapan to form the League of Mayapan. The league lasted until around 1450 CE, and Chichén Itzá would collapse 100 years later. By the time the Spanish colonized the area in the 16th century, the Mayan people were all living in small, scattered towns, their cities all but being abandoned. Chichén Itzá would be reclaimed by the rainforest, but in the 19th century, excavations started to take place at the site. Then in 1904, an American named Edward Herbert Thompson purchased the whole site. He immediately started to dredge the limestone sinkholes. It was long thought that people at Chichén Itzá made sacrifices to the god Chak, and through his dredging of the sinkholes, he actually proved this to be true by finding the skeletons of the sacrificed and other objects that were related to the sacrifices. The city of Chichén Itzá has shown us a lot of the way the ancient Mayans worked, and it's still revealing secrets to us to today. But if I had to choose one thing to be a wonder like we see in the old world sites, it would have to be the ball court. Its sheer size alone would make it a wonder in my book. Let me know if you agree in the comments below. I want to thank you all for watching, and I want to thank the patrons. If you'd like to support the channel, get extra videos and access to the Patreon Discord, then consider heading over to Patreon and help the channel grow.